Hey, Matt, welcome back to the program. Republican turnout in early voting has been significantly higher than Democrats have so far. I'm curious, how confident do you think Ted Cruz should be because of that?
Yeah, I mean, I was with the Cruz team a couple nights ago on their bus tour in Central Texas. I think they are obviously running like they're behind, but I think internally, they'd much rather be their side than all red side. It's not just Texas; it is in many of the battleground states. Republican enthusiasm has been very high. You've had not just people voting early in the early vote window, but you've had a lot of new voters voting as well. What you might call even low propensity Republican voters who might vote in a primary here or there, but who haven't consistently voted, who are turning out. So I think Cruz has started to pull away. I think some of the polling has shown this. Around Labor Day, this race was probably a lot closer than I think it is now. I think Cruz is in a good range where in the end he'll win by probably 4 or 5 points when it's all said and done. And of course, Trump's momentum has also carried Cruz with him. The larger Trump's margin is in Texas, the larger Cruz will win by as well.
What does Trump's margin have to be for Cruz to have victory?
Yeah, so that's a great question because I believe from the beginning, and I've said for more than a year that I thought Cruz would underperform Trump, not simply because there's a libertarian on the ballot who should get 1 to 1.5% of the vote, but for a number of other reasons. So I think if Trump were in the 6 to 8% range in Texas with that kind of statewide margin, which is worst case where I think he will be, I think there's really probably almost no scenario where Cruz could lose. I don't think Cruz is going to underperform Trump by 4, 5, 6 points. If Trump were to win by Texas by 3 or 4, it could be very, very close. But again, I don't expect that.
How many of these early voting Republicans do you think might split their vote when it comes to president or for the U.S. Senate race?
It's a great question. I was talking to the data expert Derek Ryan about that just in the last 24 hours. You can look at people. We don't have party registration in Texas, so you look at primary vote as the way that you establish your affiliation in terms of your party. And just because someone is a Democrat or is a Republican in terms of past voting, it doesn't mean they're going to vote all the way down ballot. There will be some Democrats who will vote for Trump for president and then vote Democratic down ballot, just like there will be the reverse. So, look, I think you're talking about a pretty small percentage, 2%, 4%, maybe 6% at most. And of course, those are going to offset to some extent, particularly at the top of the ticket, right? So, in the end, the net effect might only be 1 or 2%, but if the race is really close, it could make a difference.
Let's talk about the presidential race. What's your prediction on that? Who wins?
Yeah, based on what we know today, I believe Trump is more likely to win. There's a number of reasons for that. If you look at the 7 battleground states, the polling in those states has been pretty consistently trending in his direction now for a month. He's made slow and steady progress. I think some of that is Harris not making the sale, the bloom coming off the rose a little bit, her inability to do interviews or really provide new ideas or a break in direction from Biden's policies. He also has just so many different pathways. Yes, if he wins Pennsylvania, he's going to be the next president, but he's got several pathways, even if he loses Pennsylvania, whether that be Michigan or Wisconsin, Arizona, and Nevada, some combination of those 4 states. And I think that the Harris team has really tried to flip Georgia and or North Carolina, and I think both of those are going to stay Republican. So, look, that said, it's going to be very, very, very close. You're going to some of these states are going to be decided by 10, 20, 30,000 votes. And so if that's true, the outcome is certainly to some extent in doubt, and we may not know on election night. We may not even know for several days.
Is there a must-win for Kamala Harris? Must-win state?
Well, the blue wall has really been, the area that they've focused on the most. If she could hold Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, it makes it very hard for Trump. He has to basically run the table everywhere else. I think Trump is going to win some of those blue wall states. So, to me, we should have a pretty good sense of Pennsylvania pretty early on by 10, 11 p.m. on election night. And if it's in a really close, margin, it could take several days, and there could be legal challenges. But Pennsylvania, North Carolina, we're likely to know on election night or have a pretty good sense of where it's going. If Trump's in strong position in both of those, he's going to win.
Matt, at the end of the day, after the election come Wednesday morning or Thursday morning or whenever it might be, one side is going to be upset. Half of Americans will be depressed. Do you think we're going to see any political violence like we saw 4 years ago, January 6th?
I'm worried about that very much. I
Are
really am
you
worried
really?
about it. Yeah, I am. And I think people are investing far too much of their own psychological health in these elections. I'm obviously aligned on one side and care deeply and have been very involved. But America will still be America the day after the election. We'll still have the Constitution. We'll still have a Supreme Court. We'll still have the best military in the world. We'll still have ingenuity and a free market and everything else. I do think on the Republican side, we're very concerned about the direction of the country and that the country's in very weak shape and that the world's on fire. But Republicans are highly likely to have the Senate. I think the Democrats probably have a slight advantage in the House. And so you're likely to have divided government, which means you're unlikely to see really extreme things on either side, no matter who wins. They're probably going to be operating kind of between the two 40-yard lines in the center of the field generally. And I think most Americans should take some measure of solace at that fact.
Matt, we always appreciate the insight. Thanks, man.
Thanks.